All right. For those of you who are on Zoom, please, you can use the chat box to enter questions and just by with the little blue areas. And for those people on Facebook, you can just enter your question in the comment box. We will, I'm monitoring that and we'll make sure we get those questions answered. We're going to, we've asked that if a couple people want to submit their resume, and it looks like we've got one. Do we already have a second one? I can't really tell. But if you'd like to submit your resume, you're welcome to do that. Click on the little file button right down there at the very bottom. Please note that it will be on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to hide your header information or change it to Mickey Mouse or Tom Cruise or Angelina Jolie, whoever you'd like to be, you're welcome to do that before you submit your resume. And we'll be able to look at a couple of them here at the very end. My name is Jeff Morris. I'm the founder of Career DFW. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in DFW area. In 2012, I created CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007, and I've been a member of the practice interview team since 2007, conducting interviews. Our speaker today is Carol Burkell. She's a certified professional career coach. And Carol, I'll let you take it away. Oh, I guess I have to unmute you. All right, let's see here. Unmute, there you go.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for the introduction. And thank you to the person who's already submitted a sample resume, because during the second half of this presentation, we will take a look at the things, comment about the things that we like about the formatting and identify areas for continued improvement. And then I see a second person, Carlene, I think, has submitted a link. And I don't know what will happen while I'm presenting if I click on that link. So if you're trying to submit a resume, if you could download a file in the chat box, you can click on the file box. I don't know if that's what it is, but I can't click on the link right now while I'm presenting. And so now I'm going to share my presentation. And I'll do a quick technology verification. Jeff, can you see my presentation okay?
Good to go.
Okay, good, good. All right, excellent. Good. And so welcome everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your day to participate in Effective Resume Thursdays. We're pleased to have you here. And we will be using the interactive features of Zoom to keep this interesting for you. And it's different every week. And the first thing we'd like you to do is go ahead and click on that participant box that Jeff mentioned. And what I'd like you to do is click on the green check mark if you have seen one of my presentations before about resumes, or click on the red X if you've never seen one of the Resume Thursday presentations. So click on go into the participant box, click on the green check mark if you've seen one of these before, red X if you've never seen one, and this gives us a chance to kind of use the participant box. And I see a good blend of people. If everybody could go in there and practice playing around with the participant box, that would be great. And every week we add new content. I do some research and refresh the content, and then we do cover some basic information every week to kind of review, but it's different every week. So good. So thank you for that. Now I'd like for everyone to open up the chat box, and I'm doing the same thing with my computer and sliding it over to my other screen. Yeah, I'll do that in a second. It doesn't seem to want to do that. But what I'd like you to do is go into the chat box and answer this question. What is the most valuable piece of advice that you've received regarding your resume or your job search? And this could be advice you've received from a recruiter or a career coach or anybody. And for some reason, I'm not able to bring up the chat box to see the comments. So Jeff, I might have you, if questions pop up, if you could help me read those. For some reason, it's not popping up. I've never had that happen before, but we'll keep trying that. And then by way of introduction, I wanted to explain a little bit about my background. I have been a hiring manager. I worked in the IT industry for many years. And also when I retired from the IT industry, I worked as a recruiter, both in an agency environment and also as a corporate recruiter. And I've placed people in a variety of roles, including IT, accounting and finance, and HR, learning and development, project management, sales types of roles. And along with Jeff, I've volunteered with the PIT crew every week, and that's the practice interview team. And if you haven't taken advantage of this opportunity, I do highly recommend it. If you'd like to practice doing a job interview, send your resume to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. That's dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and send your resume and a sample job description, and you can sign up for a slot to do a mock interview. And we will put you through a real live interview and then give you feedback. It's a very valuable opportunity. And then also, as Jeff mentioned, I am certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And since I've worked as a recruiter and I keep closely in touch with the people that I've worked with, I do have 3 hot jobs to announce, actually, for my recruiting friends. One's a big one, and I wanted to announce this in case anybody knows of anyone at this level. There is an opening for a chief financial officer, a CFO in the North Dallas area. Bachelor's in accounting or finance is required. MBA or CPA is preferred. They're looking for somebody who has been a CFO and the experience with SOX compliance. Advanced Excel skills, so there must be some hands-on work there as well. But if you know of anybody at the CFO level who has that experience, contact me on LinkedIn. And then also there's an opening in Addison for a bilingual loan processor, and also in Collin County for a medical reconciliation manager. So the 3 hot jobs are a CFO, chief financial officer, loan processor, bilingual in Spanish, and a medical reconciliation manager, looking for somebody with 4+ years in the healthcare environment. And are you all ready for our agenda today? It's a 2-part process. During the first part of it, we will cover some basic information about ATS, or applicant tracking systems. And in preparation for today's sessions, I've interviewed an executive recruiter and gathered some important tips to share with you. And then also we will walk through some key components of a resume, and I'll take any questions. And then in part 2, we will actually share one of the sample resumes that's been submitted, and we'll talk about that. And a word about applicant tracking systems. And several examples of systems include Taleo, iSIMS, Workday has an applicant tracking component. And whenever you apply for a job online, that's where your resume is going into. It's going into an applicant tracking system. And it's reading the data in your resume, parsing that data into bits and pieces, taking your name, address, companies you've worked for, education, and putting it into the data files, into the applicant tracking systems. So when you're uploading a resume, you want to avoid special characters like boxes, underlining, special check marks, and things like that, because that could cause issues with the parsing and reading of the data process. So you want to have a very clean format without any special characters. And we'll be showing an example of a resume format. And what you do want to do is make sure that your keywords in your resume align to the job description. And we'll show some examples of how to do that. And if you want to test out your resume against a job description, you can use an online tool called jobscan.co, and it will give you an assessment of how well your resume aligns to a job description, whether you have a 30% match, 70% match, 90% match. It'll give you feedback so that you can adjust the wording in your resume so that it aligns better. And you can also often include your resume as an attachment. And people often ask me, do you want to Is it best to have two different versions of your resume, one that's ATS friendly and the one that has formatting in it? I say that's a personal preference. If you want to maintain two different versions for every job you're applying to, you're welcome to do that. I just always used a clean ATS version. And one thing you've probably noticed when you're getting advice about resumes, you'll get a lot of different pieces of advice. And I'm sharing background based on my experience. And your job is really to kind of listen to all the pieces of advice and decide what works best for you. And then also with ATS systems, you can submit a cover letter. And I do have a simple format for a cover letter. And I don't recommend you spend a lot of time on it because as a recruiter, especially as a corporate recruiter, frankly, I didn't ever open up the cover letters because when we posted a job, we would typically get 100, 200, or maybe 300 candidates. And the ATS system would prioritize them based on keyword matches. But even the top 10% might be 30 resumes. And I wouldn't have time to go through the cover letter and the resumes. So I rarely had time to look at the cover letters. Jeff,
I just posted both of those documents up onto the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So Jeff has uploaded a cover letter, sample cover letter in the chat box, and a sample resume template.
Yes, and for those of you on Facebook, if you want to email me, you can email me and I will be glad to send those email documents to you. And we do have the second resume, so we're good for the second one.
Okay, I don't have a way to download it is my tricky part. So when we get to that, we'll decide, okay, if we have time for the second one. Good. Yeah, for some reason the chat box isn't working. I don't know why. And now what I'd like to do is share with you some resume tips from Susan Gray. I had worked with her at Hewlett-Packard. She was a recruiting executive, and now she serves as an executive recruiter and coach. And I was interviewing her this week and gathering her insights and information. And she shared with me several nice slides with her resume tips. And I'm excited to share that with you today. Her first tip is in your resume, in the bullet points that you have within your job experience, to focus on results and accomplishments rather than just tasks or responsibilities that you have. Because you don't want it to read like a job description. You want to highlight the headlines of your accomplishments. And we'll show you a way to do that using my So What game, and I'll show you an example of how to do that. And then she also says in your resume to really spotlight any features or benefits of some of the accomplishments you've had. And then also in your resume to utilize action verbs to start each bullet. So each bullet should start with a verb. And be careful about the tense of your verb. If it's a current job, it would be in the current present tense. All past jobs should all be very consistently in the past tense. And you can Google resume verbs and see different lists and different ideas of great, creative, vivid verbs that you can use in your resume to make it stand out. So that will give you ideas. And then also with your resume, keep it simple. You know, like a menu in a restaurant, the job of a resume is to kind of whet the appetite, not to provide the detailed recipe. Sometimes when I'm working with candidates and clients and I'm reviewing a resume and I see somebody writes a whole paragraph about something they did, I'll say, now that's a great story for an interview, but I just need the headline, the accomplishment for your resume. So the job is just to whet the appetite, not provide the full recipe. And then she says, customize your resume to align to the position you're applying to. I was so glad she said that because in a few slides here in the presentation, we will show you how to do that. And it is so important. And as a career coach, as I meet with people every day, this is where I spend the most time with people. I ask often when people ask to speak with me and they send me a resume and they say, can you give me your feedback? I'll say, yes, if you can also send me your favorite target job description so I can really assess your resume in alignment with that job description. And at this moment, I'd like to let people know that during this pandemic summer that we are having, as a career coach, I am offering a free session to those with a need during this pandemic. And so if you have a need and aren't able to pay a fee, I'm free and happy to offer a free session. So you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you need help. And I help people with all phases of their job search: resume, job search strategies, preparing for interviews. So I'm here to help. So this is a summary of Susan Gray's tips to focus on results and accomplishments and spotlight the features and benefits of your accomplishments, and to use those action verbs and to use them consistently in the past tense for past jobs. You won't believe how many resumes I look at where the verb tenses are all mixed up. So you want to make them very clean, all in the past tense for past jobs. And keep your resume simple, include some white space so it's easy to read. And you just want to whet the appetite, get people interested in you, get people's attention so that they see that you're a good match for the job, so they pick up the phone to call you in for an interview. And you want to customize your resume for the position you're applying to. And I'll pause a moment to see if Jeff, if we've received any questions in the chat box. Okay, that's good. Some general characteristics for good resumes. The overall goal is to make it easy for the ATS systems and also for the human beings, the screeners, the recruiters, and hiring managers to determine that you're a great match for the job. So you want to keep the formatting simple, have some white space, make it easy to read, make it so that a recruiter can tell within 10 seconds that you're a great match for the job. And one of the main questions or most frequent questions I get regarding resumes is, how long should it be? Should it be 1 page, 2 page, 5 pages? The sweet spot tends to be about 2 pages for experienced people. Sometimes folks right out of college, 1 page is sufficient. And also for executives, sometimes, or senior level people, will create a 1-page executive bio. And that's a very different type of document. That's something you can use in networking functions or when you're doing informational discussions with people. That's a very different type of document. If you wanted more information about that, you're welcome to follow up with me, or you can Google formats for executive biographies or executive bios. But the overall length for a professional resume, usually the sweet spot is about 2 pages. Now, they can be longer for some industries, like the government does expect a lot of information. Some IT jobs, people will go on to 3 pages to show all the various technical skills. And also higher education can sometimes go on to 3 or 4 pages. And the number of years to show on the resume, especially for those of us that are experienced, or those of us who have applied for jobs at the age of 60, which I've done, and got a job at the age of 60. It is possible. In terms of number of years, you have 3 choices. What I did was I just showed the whole background. I fit it onto 2 pages, but I showed everything from 1980 on up, because I was networking with a lot of people that knew my background. And so I just shared the whole experience, because I worked for many years at EDS and then HP. So that's one option. Another option that people get told to do is chop it off after the most recent 10 or 15 years. However, as a recruiter, I've seen that cause problems when people have come in with a resume that's kind of chopped off. It looks like it's not showing the whole story. And then when we get into an interview and if I ask a question, and if somebody refers to a job that's not on the resume, that can cause some confusion. So a third alternative, which is actually preferable for a lot of people, is to show your professional experience and details for maybe the most recent 10 to 15 years, and then have a new heading that says prior relevant experience. And you can just simply list the company names and your titles. You don't even have to list the years, just to show the full picture of your background. And hiring managers do like to see the full picture. So you have different options, and you can choose what works best for you. Now we will talk about key components of a resume, and we will be demonstrating and showing segments of a format that I've used for many years as I've been coaching people and working as a recruiter. And also it's a format very similar to what I learned when I went through the certification process to become a certified career coach. And it's also very similar to the format that's used in the career transition workshop sessions that are still being run on a virtual basis. And first of all, the different components are, you'll have a heading, summary, and then there's an optional section for key accomplishments that we'll talk about, then your professional experience, and if you choose to show previous relevant experience in a more abbreviated way, you can do that, and then education and software skills. And there are other sections you can include as well. For example, if you've done a lot of publications, or if there's a lot of technical training or certifications that you want to show as well. So we'll move into the next section of formats. And Jeff, you're welcome to jump in at any time if anybody has any questions in the chat box. I'm gonna look one more time to see if I can pull up chat. It says Alt, I'm gonna try Alt H. Yeah, it didn't work either. Okay. All right, so at the top of your resume, you want it very clean where your name and your contact information, and recruiters are telling me more and more that it's very important to put your LinkedIn address, and you can customize your LinkedIn address on LinkedIn by going to edit your profile in the upper right-hand part of the screen. That's the right-hand part of your screen. You'll see a place where you can click on modify the URL for your LinkedIn address to make it more simple, so it doesn't have all those numbers and letters after it. So it's good to modify it, make it simple, put it on your resume. And you do not need to include your physical street address on your resume. It's good to put your city, or if you're in a suburb that not many people know where it is, you can put the closest major city, and you can put the zip code if you'd like. And then the summary profile section at the top of your resume is very important. And you want this to catch the eye of the recruiters and hiring managers that are looking at your resume. You want to start off with a profile, which is a description of who you are as a professional. It's not an objective that says, I'm seeking a position where I can continue to grow in my skills and have a long career. You don't want to say that. What you do want to say is something like, you're an innovative business analyst with a proven track record of, and then listing the things that you've done that align to the job that you're applying to. And then we highly recommend having a section called key areas of expertise. Sometimes people say skills or core competencies, but what I'm starting to see more and more is areas of expertise. And that's a really strong, powerful word. And it's good to have approximately 9 bullet points there that align again to the skills they're looking for in the job that you're applying for. And this is the section you really want to modify every time you apply for a job. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do it, but you do want to modify it, and then modify other bullet points throughout your resume if needed. And then Jeff, do we have any questions yet?
Oh yeah, the first question is, how should strength finders go into the resume?
Okay, and that's kind of an optional preference. I wouldn't put it at the top of the resume. I would, if you want to include it, maybe at the bottom. Some companies like to see that, some don't. So it's kind of a personal preference. If you know the company you're applying to is very big on knowing your strength finder attributes, definitely include it. I would just put it lower on the resume. Jeff, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think you want to make sure it's on LinkedIn, and you want to make sure it's in your About section of LinkedIn. If you want to take a look at my profile on LinkedIn, you'll see how I actually use those words to describe what it is I do or how I help companies out. So I think it's one of those things that you can work in some of the wording. I think it's not quite as important on a resume, because the important thing about a resume is to get them to call you up on the phone. So you want to make sure that you're only telling them what's in their job description. So if they don't mention strength finders, I don't think I would mention it. But
Right.
You know, you want to get that phone call, and you're going to do that by matching what's in the job description.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's always the guide. Look at the job description and really answer the mail in terms of what they're looking for. Now, the next section that can be under your bullet points, and this is optional, is a key accomplishments section. And I see a lot of successful salespeople, business development people, and sometimes financial leaders put key accomplishments in the resume to highlight over their career, or maybe the last 10 or 15 years of their career, maybe their 3 or 4 most important accomplishments, especially if it relates to achieving targets or winning awards or identifying savings, financial savings in a company. This is a place where you can highlight it again at the top of your resume. And that's optional. And then professional experience is very important to have this in reverse chronological order with your most recent job first. And you want to make it very easy to read, very clean, with the dates over right justified for the job. And again, have the verbs parallel for present tense jobs, present tense, past jobs, past. And don't mix up verbs that end in ing, verbs that end with s, with verbs that end in ed. Just make them all clean, the past jobs ending in ed. Can't stress that enough because I see it on almost every resume, issues relating to that. And in the professional experience section, I do recommend, and most of the recruiters I talk to, in fact, all recruiters recommend limiting the number of bullets per job. I was looking at a resume yesterday that had 15 or 20 bullets with a couple of the jobs, and a hiring manager will not read all those. They won't be able to get their head around all of those. So you really want to focus on the 5 to 8 most critical accomplishments, and they should focus on results, and it shouldn't read just like a job description. And we talked about focusing on results, and the fun way to do that is to play what I call the so what game. And this is a real story, and several of you have probably heard this from me before, that one time when I was coaching a very accomplished professional on their resume, they had a bullet that was pretty good that said that they developed a visual basic programs to automate the conversion of data. That's pretty good. But I said, well, so what? And that's a fun way of asking, what was the impact? What was the result? What was the benefit to the clients? And then they thought about it and they said, wow, yeah, it did result in reducing the data migration time, and it eliminated errors, and it increased the stakeholder and client confidence. So then they reworded their bullet point to start with that headline, with the results. So they started with a stronger verb. It reduced data migration time and eliminated errors and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So you can see how by playing the so what game, they were able to get to what is that result and then reworded that bullet.
Carol, we have a question. I said on professional, David's asking, on professional experience, should we not include a description of the position/position requirements? Maybe if it's very brief, and I'd say it's optional. And in fact, this example on the slide I'm showing now does include a very brief explanation of the job. Now, Jeff, was the question regarding the job or the company? About the position itself.
The position, yes, okay. And this example that I'm showing on the screen does provide that kind of optional option where there's a very brief description and then bullet points with accomplishments. So you can do it that way, or I've seen it without that description and just go right into the bullet points. So it's kind of a personal preference.
One of the things I've always done, especially if you're mid-level, mid-management and up, is I've always put on there that, all right, so I was an HR business development manager, and I would report it to the title, the vice president of HR or whatever. I would put in there who I reported to, because that would help companies sort of get an idea of where I was looking, where I fit.
Yes, yes, to see what level you fit. Good. And then talking about this particular example, this is a way to illustrate if you've had multiple roles within one company. And almost every time I talk to somebody about the resume, they need to apply this rule here, because if you don't do it this way, it makes it look like you're a job hopper. And what this format does is it shows the longevity, where at this company, in this job, somebody was at the company from 2004 to 2012, but then had 3 different jobs, and there was a nice progression. So the most recent job, you can show the dates in parentheses up close to the job title, so that the overall job really sticks out because it's right justified. So for each job title, just add in parentheses the time that you're in those job functions. And that makes your resume stronger and really shows the longevity, and it shows, you know, that you're promoted as well, valued within the organization. And then another question I've had multiple times is how to handle the situation where a company has changed names or has been acquired. And there are a couple different ways of handling it. And you can do whatever feels most, again, what most comfortable for you. One is you could start with the name of the current name of the company and say formerly whatever, give the old name of the company, and then say it was acquired. And for example, in 2012, when I retired from HP had acquired EDS. So on my resume at the time, in 2012, I said HP, formerly EDS, or I could have said EDS / or in parentheses acquired by HP, Hewlett Packard, in 2008. So I could have said that. So you can do it either way, whatever you think would resonate most with the people reading your resume. And then it's important to list your education, your degree if you have it. And if you don't have it, you can just put the university you attended. And if you want to put the dates or the years you attended, you can do that. But don't say bachelor's if you don't have a bachelor's. Even if you're in a bachelor's program, don't say bachelor's if you don't have a bachelor's degree. That could cause confusion. And you don't want to have people think you're fabricating something on your resume. And software skills is often important, especially if the job description lists required jobs software skills such as Microsoft Office or even Excel. Many job descriptions list that. So you'll want to put that on your resume and you'll get points for keyword matches. And this is one of my favorite slides. I'll see if I can get communication mode. Yeah, it looks like I can do that. Good. And oh good, I'm seeing the chat box all of a sudden. All right, that's good. That's helpful. Good. So on this slide, what I want to do is kind of walk through the process that I often coach people to do regarding how to align your job and your resume to a job description. What I recommend doing is spending just a few minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time, but spend a few minutes studying the job description and look at the keywords, look at the things that they're looking for, and highlight those keywords, whether it's online or if you're printing it off. Take a few moments and study the job description first. And in this case, it's a business analyst, and they're looking for somebody that can document business requirements and somebody that can improve processes. So these are words that you should put into your resume. And they're looking for somebody that can do process flow charts. And Agile's important. So it's important to list Agile. And then also Visual Studio was something important. So that'd be good to put it in the software skills section. So I highly recommend doing it, and it really doesn't take a lot of time to do that. My drawings. And I'm going to save my chat box. So glad that appeared. Good.
So the only question is, any chance of getting a PDF of the presentation for review? This presentation will be up on the Career DFW Facebook page, and it'll be on the Career USA YouTube channel. And you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. Sometimes, you know, when you get the presentation, you tend not to get all the words that go with it. So we are now able to give you all the words with the visuals. So you'll be able to view it as many times as you want. And also the sample resume and the sample T cover letter that we have, we've posted that into the profile so you can, into the chat box so you can download those 2 documents.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for that. And what I'm going to do right now is, let's see if this is the right one. So I'm sharing a resume. Can you see a resume?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think this is the one that was in a link.
Yes, that is it.
Okay, good, good. Okay. And so what I'm going to do for our audience today is I'm going to scroll through the resume and spend about as much time as a recruiter would spend looking at a resume, about 10 or 15 seconds. And I'd like for those of you in our audience today to think about what you like about the formatting and go into the chat box and type in a few comments about what you like about this version of the resume. And if you see any things that you'd recommend for improvement, go ahead and type those into the chat box as well. And somebody's asked a question, can an ATS distinguish improved processes from process improvement? Very good question. ATS systems, I think, are really literal. And so if it said improve processes, you want to try to structure it in a way in your resume to say improve processes. In fact, I did that, I think, with that resume example, because I had improving processes for a while. So very good question there. I think ATS systems are quite literal. Okay. So with the sample resume that we're looking at, I see it's formatted very cleanly at the top of the resume with a heading section. There is an underline that could generate a special character that could throw off the ATS system. Professional experience, areas of expertise, I see, and category manager. Okay, there's a company name. Okay, and then dates for the jobs down below. We'll talk about the dates here in a second. Family leave. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. Plus. Good. And then somebody's asking a question. Maybe, Jeff, you can help me decipher it. Should it all be plain text or is active link still okay? Oh, like for the LinkedIn URL. I think that's fine to have that be active if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, you can definitely save it as an active link. I mean, it's not gonna, if somebody has a Word doc, gets the handwritten Word document, they're not gonna, I mean, the prints it out, it's not gonna work, but if they're viewing it online, definitely make it easy for them.
Make it easy, that's it, yes. And adding color, that's a personal preference. Yesterday, I was looking at a resume where the name was in this beautiful shade of light purple and italics. And I thought, that looks a little more like a marketing thing. So I suggested that person maybe not do that. So but it's kind of a personal preference. And the person said they did that because they wanted to stand out. Well, as a recruiter, what makes a resume stand out to me is that in 10 seconds, I can see that that person has the skills that I'm looking for. And a purple italics name heading doesn't do that for me. But that's, again, personal preference. Okay.
And I think it also depends on what your career field is. I mean, my daughter is a UX designer. She's, user interface designer. So yeah, she had to make it a little bit more creative and a little bit more, it's been interesting to see how she has come around to what we're talking about because she's been dealing with right management and stuff. And they're pushing a plainer resume that's easier for an ATS system and for a recruiter to understand, but yet for those artsy folks, her artsy resume is really a better document to hand to them. So you just, you have to sort of go pick and choose what you're sending.
Yes, know your audience and the environment you're working in. Very good point, Jeff. So at the top of the resume, if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to type those in the chat box or any compliments for this resume. I do like how clean it is. I do worry about the underline, that it could cause issues. And what I'd recommend here, instead of saying professional experience at the very top of the resume, this is where you want to put your headline. If you're applying for a business analyst job, put business analyst at the top of your resume. If you're an HR leader or an HR manager, put HR manager there. And then you want a couple of sentences that describe who you are as a professional. One sentence may not be quite enough. And under areas of expertise, I like having 3 columns with 3 items each. Because there's some, or at least 2 columns, because there's some wasted space here. You could put some other areas of expertise that could align to that job, and you could get more points with keyword searches. And you want to make sure that these are the things that they're looking for. If they're looking for vendor management, team member development, and using the words that they use in the job description. That's what I would recommend there for areas of expertise. And I like the company name there. What I'd recommend is to have the dates right to the side, right justified for the whole time you were at the company. So it looks like it may have started with Mike
1996.
96, but there was a gap. So you may want to say 1996 to 99, and then 2013 to 2020, I think. So you may actually do both. And then for each job, I would put after the job title, space, open paren, and then the date for that job, not right justified, but right up next to the job title. Because otherwise it looks like you jumped around from company to company. So you want those dates associated with that job.
And you probably don't need to put the month. You could just put 2016 to 2020. When you fill out an application, you're going to need to know what those dates are. So you want to know what those, have that information available. But on a resume you're turning in, people don't care about the months.
That's right. I took, to make it cleaner and to take less real estate on the valuable page, yeah, I took off the months as well. Good. Okay. And then family leave, that's probably appropriate for this role. If it's in between jobs and somebody takes a little bit of time to take care of the family, what I often ask clients that I'm working with is, did you do any volunteer work during that time? And often people say, yeah, I was president of the PTA or something like that. What I recommend is put community leadership and list a couple of bullet points about things you did during that time. And this one, since it was in the middle of a job, it looks like it was truly a family leave, and that's probably fine for that. And then, and the company obviously valued you and brought you back. So that tells a good story. Good, good. And somebody listed their volunteer work at the bottom, community service. No, I think that's fine to list that, and it spanned a broad number of years. So I think that's fine. Okay. Let's look at a couple bullet points. Managed business stores, okay. So you manage that, that's good. That one's hard to play the so what game with because it's big. Use vendor community to bring first adding. Okay, the second bullet starts with the verb use the vendor community. I'm wondering if you could swap around this bullet point to focus on the fact you added 500K in new business. So you could change this bullet point to read, added or increased revenues by 500K by using the vendor community, the first ever diversity focused assortments in the chain or something like that. So look at your bullet points and look for what is that headline? What is that result? And the result was adding the 500K. Yes. And somebody's asking the question about putting numbers and things in bold. And from a writing perspective, it's actually a best practice not to bold things within a sentence, because numbers do kind of jump out. And especially if you rearrange that second bullet to say added 500K in business, it'll jump out. And I see people sometimes put text in bold occasionally in a sentence, and that's almost telling the reader, I know you're not going to read this, but I want you to read these 2 words. And it's from a best practice writing perspective, I don't recommend that. Okay. And if anybody else has, and that's my perspective from my experience. If anybody else has any other perspectives, feel free to share those and use what works best for you. Okay. And then somebody's asking a question. For older history, a full career shift, or within a company, should I list the older position, or is it acceptable to begin with the second position, which is more relevant to my career? That one may take a little more conversation to be able to answer that. If it's all within the same company, you may want to include that to show the longevity you had with that company. So
you just don't have to show any bullet points underneath the second job. I mean, you know,
yeah.
you want to show that you were there for a long period of time if you shift a job. But the important thing is, if you talk about something in your interview that references to that prior job, you want to have a bullet point or 2 just to sort of say what you did if it happens to come out.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise it causes confusion for a recruiter. And one other minor comment is, I don't know if the space is needed between the company name and the title. Often what I see is the company name with the dates right justified for the company, and then the title, and maybe have that in italics to make it different. So okay.
There was a question here saying, under areas of, let's see here, is column formatting okay for ATS parsing? If
I use the tab. I don't use like Microsoft boxes and make the boxes invisible because that would be special characters. So I just use the simple tab function for the column formatting.
Right.
And then somebody said under areas of expertise, is it not necessary to use active verbs there? That is correct. That's where you just use keywords like vendor management. This person did it perfectly. These are kind of functional areas. You want to use the verbs under your professional experience under the bullet points for the jobs. Very good question there. And let's stop sharing this one. So good job on this resume. And if you have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to reach out to me, to the person that did this one. And I think we have just a couple more minutes, and I'm going to try to that's going to look for an app. I'm trying to upload this other resume.
I couldn't get it to load.
Okay, yeah, it's asking me to look for an app. I'm sorry about that. What's best for this program is for this session, if you can send us a document either in Microsoft Word or even preferable PDF format, because the formatting won't get changed. If you send it to us that way in the chat, we're able to share it more easily.
Right.
Okay. So Jeff, I think that concludes everything I have to say. And what I'd like to say to the audience is if you could go into the chat box and type us in your feedback about the session. Did you gain any insights that were valuable to you in the session? Or do you have any suggestions for improvement? We do value your feedback. And I know several people have come back a couple of times and have some new folks here, and really look forward to getting your feedback. And once again, if I can help you one-on-one, I'm offering a free session to those with a need during this pandemic. And I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to attend this session.
Great. Well, Carol, thank you very, very much. Carol will not be with us next week. She's got us a great substitute. Next week is her birthday, and she's—
It's my birthday, so you can all sing happy birthday to me.
Huh?
You could sing happy birthday to me, but I'll be on call in case you need me.
Oh, okay. All right. So she may be with us. Okay. Let's see here. So please, if you like to find some more free training going on, tomorrow you can join the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Our topic tomorrow is about free publicity. The speaker is Jeff Crilly, who used to be with Channel 4. You're welcome to join us for that tomorrow morning at 9:30. Coming up next week, next Tuesday, we'll be doing LinkedIn training next Tuesday. Can't believe it'll be the last day, the first half of the year. Hopefully the second half of the year will be much better than the first half. But 1 o'clock on the 30th, we'll be doing LinkedIn Tuesday with Terry Sullivan. If you haven't heard Terry, It's an excellent presentation about how to use LinkedIn, how he uses it for marketing. And then on Wednesday, interviewing Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, how to prepare an interview for when you have limited time, dealing with difficult interviewers and their difficult questions, and dealing with that little voice in your head telling you what you shouldn't do or how I did well or not. And you can join us on Zoom, you can join us on Facebook Live, and all the login information is on the careerdfw.org calendar. So my question for everybody, if we'll open up your participant box or just enter the information into the comment box on Facebook, do you know somebody who lives outside the DFW area who is unemployed? So that's the question. Do you know somebody who's unemployed outside the DFW area? Well, for those of you who have said yes, my ask for you is let them know about Career DFW. Let them know about the free programming that we're putting on right on the Career DFW website, right where those blue arrows are. There is a calendar that shows all the webinars, teleseminars, radio, TV shows that are happening. You know, you're welcome to click on that and it will take you to a calendar that will show you everything that's happening in the DFW area. And you don't have to be in the DFW area to participate. You can be anywhere. So please let people know about what we're providing. Oh, here's what it happens to look like. So here are all the different events. Somebody can join, they can see what's going on and find all the login information to get in. Just as a reminder, these sessions have been recorded and will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please check each, subscribe to both of them. If you're on Facebook, it looks something like this. Where that red arrow is, we ask that you click on follow. And if you do that, you will then, whenever we go live, you'll get a little alert on your phone or on your iPad saying that Career DFW is currently live. And where that blue arrow is, it will take you to where all the videos are located, and they're all grouped together by resumes, interviewing, the North Dallas group. Everything's in its separate little group there. On the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. If you click on the Career USA YouTube channel and you click where the green arrow is, where it says playlist, it will pop up a series of list across the bottom of the screen. And when you click underneath that, where it says view full playlist, it'll come up with a list of all the events we've had, and you can sort and find all these things. So all of our past events are there, and you can go back and watch them as many times as you want if you've missed something, if you want to catch something up again. So just as a reminder, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Carol gives of her time as a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 12 years, I've done just to help you, all the speakers. We're just here to help you in your job search and help you get ahead. We survivor donations. It helps pay for everything that we're doing. Please consider, when you do get your next job, please consider making a donation so that we can continue on. And if your company makes matching donations, please look up the Career DFW name and allow your donation to double in value. And if you don't see our name on the list, please contact me and I will get our name on the list. So Carol, once again, thank you very, very much. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 or one day next week.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You.